And it is my pleasure to welcome the general manager of Fuse Labs, Lily Cheng, who is going to fill us in on the role of social media for researchers. Welcome.
Thanks
for coming. This is fun. We have much to talk about. A lot of people watching are saying, oh, Fuse Labs, of course. But for those who are like, wait a minute, what is, do tell. Tell us what you're up to.
So Fuse Labs, Fuse stands for Future Social Experiences Labs, and we're a group in Microsoft Research that really focuses all about social software. So new experiences that people might have for interacting, and then just lots of tools that you might want for other people to build, as well as doing a lot of data analysis and things with data from other social networks.
Wow, expand upon that a little bit, because there's a lot in there. You're making it sound very modest, but I know there's some very cool things at work.
So,
some tangible examples.
Well, let me give you a great story. So I think probably about 2 years ago, there was a guy in my group, and he was really interested in Twitter data. And this is sort of before analyzing Twitter data was really popular. So he started this little project, and 3 weeks after he started looking at Twitter data, really looking at what people shared in Twitter, so URLs that people were sharing and how they propagate through the system. He built this prototype, and 3 weeks after we shipped on Bing. So being able to go from, you know, my Hello World Twitter app, building this on Windows Azure, and then shipping it on Bing was really exciting for us. And I think it really changed the way we started thinking about social software. And then about a month later, the team said, hey, you know, we just did this deal with Twitter where we have access to the whole Twitter fire hose. Can you guys use your system to support that? So we said, sure, not really knowing what we were getting into, of course.
Right, of course.
But it was really exciting. And part of the reason that they asked us to do that is we had built this system for processing social data in real time. And it's just a little bit different than web data, because you have to know about links, and you're processing things very quickly, and you want to know about identity. And then I think about 6 months later, we got all the Facebook public data through the same system. And so we were a really small team. I think we increased our staff to 2 people working on it, and we had all this data. And it was just awesome for us in research to be able to go from a really simple idea, small number of people, to partner with the Bing team, to just having this out there for people to play with and experience. And today, we've since transitioned that project to the Bing team, and they have a whole team, you know, doing that project. And that social data actually powers all the social search features that you see out there today on our search engine. So that's just a great success story. And I think that experience really made us sort of take a step back and say, wow, you know, social is so much broader than we had even imagined it in the beginning. So we had always thought more about the communication experiences. We're an experiences team. We try to think of the design and the way people are interacting with tools. But we started to understand that we really needed to also be able to understand the infrastructure for this, and how to you know, build things on the web really quickly, partner with teams in new ways. So Fuse Labs is a little bit atypical, I think, when you think of research labs. I mean, we build a lot of stuff. Everything we build, you can pretty much just use it. It's out there on the web. Usually, if you have social software and it's not usable by lots of people, you don't really know if it works.
Right.
And so our work is very applied. We have a lot of developers, a lot of designers, and in some sense, you know, we operate a lot like a startup.
Wow. Well, and it seems like a very interwoven thing here, because you're talking about this technology that's based on the social. You're getting the feedback from social, what's working. I mean, it seems like this sort of highly complicated thing that sort of relies on each other, both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, ideally, you want a person, like people, like what kind of people do you want? You want people who just get social. They use tools and they communicate in a very sort of modern way, I think. But you want people who can think about design and how to make the experiences really simple, but also have the chops to kind of go into the covers and do something that people haven't done before. So we got this data from Search, which was awesome. I mean, who else has public Twitter data and the Facebook data, and then all of our Bing data, and you know, sort of data flying out of our ears. And we said, well, you know, what do you do with that? What do you do with all the data that's really compelling?
First, you get overwhelmed.
Yeah, first you're like, oh my gosh, I just have to keep this thing up and running.
Right.
But then so we started to play with it, and we found that, you know, you could just spend all your time analyzing the data and maintaining the servers, but we really wanted to say, well, you know, what's different for people and the way they communicate and the way they search once you have all this data. So we thought, it's really interesting for us because when you have all the search data and all the social networking data, you realize that these systems were actually invented separately. So search, you have a little box and you type a word and you get some text back, and it's very solo. And social networking, if you want to share a link in a social network, you leave your social network, you go out to the web, you look around, you find a link, you copy that little thing in, you paste it in, you do some stuff, maybe you get a thumbnail, or it gets shortened by URL shortener in Twitter. Right. And then you share it out, and if you're viewing it, you see this link, and you click on it, you go out to the web. And we just thought these systems were both designed separately a long time ago. What if you were starting over and you were just redesigning search or redesigning social networks? How might the web and the way you share things come closer together?
Sure.
And so we've been really excited. We released this project about 6 months ago called Social. I could give you guys a demo in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just been, we're sort of at the crazy phase again that we were when we got all the Twitter and Facebook data of just making sure everything runs and trying to get enough analytics in there so we can really see what's happening, by the minute. But it's really our hope that we can empower other people to study this stuff. So I do a lot.
You lit up when you talked about it, so let's see something.
All right,
you got a demo for us.
So I have some, I think these are some slides, but let me go through a few slides. I'll just give you a little summary of what I just talked about. So this is our group. This was the Twig project that I mentioned, where we had, this is back in 2009, but really 2 guys building this whole infrastructure for Bing, which was super exciting for us. Lots of data, just massive amounts of data. And we actually built the front end for Bing at that time, which was really simple sort of hello world social search page, which is completely grown and blossomed in the Bing team for doing all kinds of things. And then what we did is we actually did a lot of analysis on the data. We took our FAST engine that we have, which is a great entity extraction tool to say for every tweet, like who are you talking about, who are the people in there, what are the verbs and things like that. So we had all this data. And then we said, let's just do this sort of explosion of apps that we built. So this is just a screenshot that shows you all the different apps that we built for people using this data. And one thing that we found is that if we sort of componentize things, we could build these apps really quickly. Because our thing, just like anybody out there, is you don't really know what's going to work until you put it out in front of people and they use it in different ways and things like that. So this will come back in my talk in a little bit.
Like you said, you don't know if it's popular until you put it out there, see who's using it, see what happens.
So this is one of our things. Let me give you a quick demo of that. That's called Montage. So one of the first things that we thought was, today kids, they're out there, maybe they want to write a research paper or do something, and they, if you're starting with Word or a traditional document editor, you start with this big blank page.
Right.
And that's really just not the way people live on the web. They might start with Wikipedia or, they're starting with lots of information. So we thought if you were starting
it's too lonely.
from scratch, it's just blank. Would you ever start with blank?
It's too overwhelming. I got to fill this whole thing out with words.
It's a lot of work. So we thought, what if you just had to type a word,
Sure.
and then we would say, okay, here's a bunch of stuff. So yarn bombing is one of my favorite things. Yarn bombing is not really academic. Yarn bombing is taking yarn and putting it on stuff. So what this
is new to me. I'm
yarn
excited.
Bomb. Okay, so this is like yarn bomb tree.
Okay, wait a minute. I've seen some yarn bomb trees, and I wondered.
You wondered
this must
what
be a
the
thing
heck.
I don't know
so
about.
it is this weird kind of, fun, playful thing that people do. But if I wanted to write an article on yarn bombing, I might say, okay, I want to keep this one. So there I go. I typed a word. Boom, I have a document. You can see I have a bunch of stuff from Twitter.
Everything from people tweeting about it to articles.
All kinds of search articles.
Pictures.
And we just made this for you. But you probably want to customize it. So you could come in and say, you know what? I want to pick my own pictures. So I'm going to pick different ones. Like, I don't know, this weird pink car or whatever. And I can say save. And then what that does is it automatically just updates that. And then it'll kind of
warm
cluster
bus.
Exactly. A lot of work. Or I could say, you know what, I just don't like this one, so I'm going to edit it. I'm going to remove it.
Wow.
And so this just lets people, in a very playful way, start to create documents and web pages. Because I think creating a web page is still too hard today. A lot of people can't just type a word and post it. And then this actually, you can publish it out to the web and just share the page.
Well, it's neat to see not only the results in the articles and the imagery, but then to see the live Twitter feed on the side there, because you can see, you know, if it's something, yeah, is it just me? Am I a weirdo that I'm into this yarn bombing thing? And you go, nope, this guy's tweeting about it. He just found somebody doing it out front of their store. Here's somebody saying that they love it. Have you seen it? Here's where it's happening.
And the other thing is we were trying to introduce to people that sometimes content in your document is live and updates all the time, and other times it's pinned and is going to stay just the way you want it. So those pictures that I pinned aren't going to change, but like Twitter, the Twitter data is going to come and stream in and be live. So this was this great project that we did, but one of the problems is it's not about sharing this creation that you made. So typically it would be the experience of I'd take this URL and I'd drop it into Twitter or I'd share it out, but people can't really find these documents very well.
Yeah.
So that's when we started this search project that I talked about, which is called Social. So this is Social. So we took those same ideas of montage, which you think of it maybe as document creation, but it's also just searching and showing your search results in a very visual, beautiful way. So we said, what if we did the same thing, but we just focused completely on sharing? And so here you can see all kinds of topics that people in Social are sharing. So this is sort of your kind of a more traditional social network. If I scroll down, maybe I'll pick a topic. One of my favorite topics is architecture. I used to be an architect. So you can see here in Social, this is this project that we released in December. People are creating these little montage collages of all kinds of things that they've tagged
Cool
architecture.
yeah.
Isn't this cool?
Wow.
And there are, you know, tens of thousands of these posts. And what I think is really neat is if you think of how you share things in many social networks today, you can't you'd have to upload all these pictures.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
And that would be kind of a hassle. So if I wanted to just create a new post on architecture, I could say Fumiko Maki is one of my favorite architects. So I love this one building, the Spiral building in Tokyo. Okay, so I search for it, and this is just giving me back Bing results. So I can say, you know, I like that one. Maybe I want to see other things by Fumiko Maki. So I'm going to see a lot more of his buildings.